Hello everyone, myself Nazia Hasan. I am an assistant professor at TMIMT Tirthankar Mahavir University, Muradabad. I welcome you all in today's session, which is based on a subject Advanced Cost Accounting. In the previous sessions, we talked about cost sheet. We studied some basic aspects related to cost sheet, what are the basic components of a cost sheet, and how to calculate the final cost of sales. Now in this session, in continuance of the previous session, we will take up some numerical problems related to cost sheet, which will help the students in understanding the cost sheet in a more elaborative and efficient manner. So here we start with the first problem. Calculate the raw material consumed. Now in this session, they are asking you to calculate the cost of raw material consumed. They have given you opening stock, purchase of raw material, carriage inward, sale of raw material, closing stock of raw materials. Now going back to the previous session, I have told you that whenever you have to calculate the raw material consumed or direct material cost, you have to apply this formula. Direct material is equal to opening stock of raw material plus purchases plus expenses on purchases minus closing stock of raw material. So nothing different in this particular question also. We have been given all the values which can be easily applied in the given formula, and we will calculate the cost of raw material consumed. First of all, we will write opening stock, that is rupees 18,000. Next, we will add purchase of raw material, which is given rupees 2,30,000. Then we will add carriage inward. Carriage inward value is given over here 27,000. Then we will deduct sale of raw material rupees 8,000. Then we will deduct closing of stock of raw material rupees 20,000. And then finally we will arrive at the value of material consumed, that is rupees 2,47,000. I again summarize the numerical. Opening stock plus purchases plus carriage inward. From this particular value, we will deduct 8,000 scrap value. We will deduct raw material closing stock of raw material value, and finally we will arrive at material consumed, that is rupees 2,47,000. So this is a very basic concept we have tried to solve over here, which will be helpful in the solving the practical aspects related to cost sheet. Now moving on further, we will take up some practical problem related to cost sheet. In this particular question, we have been asked to prepare a cost sheet which is showing prime cost, work cost, cost of production, cost of sales and profit. This is full question. In this they have completely mixed all kind of overheads, and it is now our duty to solve this problem and divide these overheads on their nature under basic headings of prime cost, factory overheads, work cost and selling cost. Let us start. As we have discussed, the first step in solving cost sheet is to calculate the cost of raw material consumed, which you have also solved in the previous session. First of all, we will prepare a format which is being shown like this. Cost sheet for the year ending 31st March 2010. We'll prepare one column, that is particulars, another column amount, which is mentioned in rupees for mentioning the individual items, and finally the total amount column. We have written total amount column over here that because it will give more clarity to the readers that which amount has been shown under which heading, and it will be more easy for the reader to understand the cost sheet. First of all, without thinking about anything, we will calculate the value of material consumed. Material consumed is shown again First of all, we will write the opening stock. Stock of materials. Stock of materials. First 04/2009. It is 28,000. We have taken this value as a opening stock because our cost sheet is being prepared for the year ending 31st March 2010, and this value being of 1st April 2009, so it is taken as the value of our opening stock, which is rupees 28,000. Next is add purchases in it. Add purchase of raw materials, which is given in the question, 5,35,000. 5,35,000. Next is add carriage inward. Carriage inward. Carriage inward value given over here is rupees 18,300. Just by mistake being typed as 60. No problem. It is 18,300. Then we will deduct the value of closing stock. Closing stock value is a value which has been mentioned by a date 31st/3/2010, which is rupees 32,500. Now after calculation, this value comes out to be 5,48,800. We have shown in a total column. Now we will add manufacturing wages. We can see manufacturing wages over here. As we have discussed in the previous session, that manufacturing wages are your direct wages. Manufacturing wages, they are your direct wages and will be shown over here, so that you can finally get the total amount here. Next is your chargeable expenses. You can see in the question 53,000 chargeable expenses. Chargeable expenses. Chargeable expenses are your direct expenses we have discussed in the previous session, which is 53,000. Now after adding all these items, we will get the prime cost. Prime cost is rupees 8,86,800. We will show it in a bold content because it will give us more clarity. After calculating prime cost, I again revert back to the previous session. Prime cost is equal to direct material plus direct labor plus direct wages. So I think we have justified our equation. We have calculated direct material, direct wages and direct expenses, and we have summed up all these three expenses and arrived at the final value 8,86,000. Next is factory overheads. factory overheads. Factory overheads, I again revert back to the previous session. Factory cost is equal to prime cost plus factory overhead. So simply in this prime cost, if we will add factory overheads, we will arrive at the value of a factory cost. So all those expenses which are related to the production and which are incurred on the factory floor of the manufacturing concern are included in this. Now in this, first of all, we will take indirect material. Indirect material. The value of indirect material is rupees 21,000. We will show up over here. Sorry, it is by mistake. It's 21,000. Next is your indirect wages. Direct wages are to be shown in prime cost, as we all know, but if it's a matter of indirect wages, then we will show in your factory overheads. It's 42,700. Indirect material value we will rectify over here, by mistake it has been deleted. Next is your internal transport. It is specifically mentioned that it is related to factory, so we will show this internal transport under factory overheads, and it is of value 27,500. After drawing office expenses, these are basically expenses which are related to factory, because it is being paid to the factory engineer basically, and we will show them in the factory cost. Next is your we will go through what other expenses can be a part of your work manager salary. Work manager salary is again a part of your factory overheads. Then we will show under factory overheads, it is rupees 30,000. Next is your foreman salary. It is again paid to the people who are working in the factory, so definitely we are going to show them in the factory overheads. It is 16,500. Next is anything else we can include in factory overheads. It's depreciation, repairs and maintenance, of course. It is depreciation, repairs and maintenance. And in under depreciation, it's a depreciation of factory building, which will be shown over here. It is of amount 24,500. 24,500. Next is your plant and machinery. Plant and machinery value is given 28,000. Then office equipment and furniture we are definitely not going to show over here. Next is your warehouse expenses are not shown in factory. Motive power, it is again related to machinery and production, so we will show in your factory overheads. Which is of value 24,000. Next is your cotton waste, oil, fuel and gas. Cotton waste 1500 rupees. Oil, fuel and gas 8600 rupees. Next is your managing director's salary. Managing director's salary is total of 45,000, but it is mentioned in the question, out of total salary of managing director, 40% belongs to factory. So managing director salary, sorry, I will write it from here. Managing director salary 40% which belongs to factory, that is 40% of rupees 45,000 is be 18,000. Next is your lighting factory. Lighting factory which is related, which has lighting expenses of rupees 13,000. Next is your anything which is left out, yes, consumable stores. Consumable stores are again part of your factory overheads, so definitely we will mention them over here. It is 11,200. Now I think we have covered all the things related to factory. No, we have not covered. We are left with the sale of scrap. We have studied in the previous session if there is any value related to sale of scrap which needs to be deducted from the total value after arriving at prime cost plus 4, which is calculated after the addition of prime cost plus factory overheads, 2,500. So the final value will be 3,02,500. 3,02,500. After this long calculation, I think you all need revision. I revise it for you. First we will calculate the material consumed, then we will add manufacturing wages, chargeable expenses, and we arrived at the final prime cost, that is 8,86,000. After calculating prime cost, we will add factory overheads. Factory overheads bold में कर देते हैं इसको. Let's factory overheads. We will add all the expenses which are related to the production or manufacturing or which are done at the factory floor of the manufacturing concern are included in factory overheads. First is indirect material, indirect wages, internal transport, factory drawing office expenses, work manager's salary, foreman manager's salary, depreciation, repair and maintenance. Factory building has been mentioned specifically 24,500. Plant and machinery, motive power, cotton waste, oil, fuel and gas. Managing director salary is total 45,000, but it has been mentioned in the question that 40% belongs to the factory. So we have taken 40% of 45,000. Lighting factory, consumable stores, then we will adjust the sale of scrap after doing all these additions, that is 8,86,000 plus all these values minus 22,500 will give you 3,02,500, and this 3,02,500 will be added in 8,86,000, which will give you final value of factory cost or work cost. We say factory cost oblique work cost, which is rupees 11,89,300. Now next is office and administration overheads.